And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Pace and Johnson
with a cinema review.
It is Monday, July 13th, 2026, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cinemaster's Reviews. We got two reviews this week. We are reviewing Moana, the latest Disney live-action remake, as well as The Invite, the third film from actress Olivia Wilde, coming right off of Don't Worry, Darling. I say right off of Don't Worry, Darling. 4 years removed from Don't Worry, Darling, and all the scandals that follow that film. I say we jump right into the show this week. Wasn't here last week. Wasn't able to see two movies, but excited to talk with you guys this week. So let's just jump right in, starting with our first review of the week. Moana, directed by Thomas Kail. If that name doesn't sound familiar, he isn't really a film director, but he did direct the live recording of Hamilton that premiered on Disney Plus, I believe, back in 2020. Like I said, this is the latest live-action remake of one of Disney's own animated films. This one probably the closest to the original's release date, where the original Moana film came out in 2016. 10 years later, Disney said, you know what? The world is ready for a live-action remake. And just like that animated film, we follow a teenage girl by the name of Moana as she lives on her village of Motunui. And she learns one day that her island is cursed to be essentially taken down by a evil god. Unless Moana can find the god of the ocean, Tafiti, as she gets a calling, as you will, and she needs to team up with a demigod by the name of Maui, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I should say Moana in this film played by Catherine Legea. And those two, along with Moana's animal sidekicks, Pui, her Pua, her pig, and Hey, her chicken, they go off on this big grand adventure in order to stop this fire demon and to send peace to Motunui. If everything I said sounded very familiar to the original Moana film, that's because it is. I am a big fan of that original Moana film. Pardon me there. I think it came around the time when Disney was experiencing a little bit of a creative renaissance from what they were experiencing in the 2000s and the 2010s. They really started to pick it back up creatively with films like Tangled, like Wreck-It Ralph, like Frozen, and Moana came right at the tail end of that, along with Zootopia. And I really like that film. I think Moana's a really fun character. I think the music is really great. I think the adventure that she goes on is really fun. And I didn't really think this soon after that animated film we needed a live action remake. And after seeing this film, I'm still searching for a reason for why this movie exists, except for Disney's preconception that, if they liked it before, they're going to like it again and they're going to make money, because this movie, I truly don't believe does anything better than the original film, or even comes close to the quality of that original film. The characters aren't as fun. The world doesn't feel as grand or as vibrant. In that original animated film, even though it's animated, it feels so crisp. And when you're watching Moana and Maui sail on the waves, this one just feels kind of flat. Feels like the water might have been CGI, even though it didn't quite feel that way. And it just feels kind of lifeless, everything you're looking at. I think when you have one of these Disney live-action remakes, I haven't liked most of them. I've enjoyed a couple. I enjoyed the live-action Cinderella. I enjoyed the Jungle Book. I enjoyed Pete's Dragon. But whenever I walk into one of these, I always think, okay, is there something that this movie can do that was better than the original animated film? And I think that's where this movie just fails from minute one. Is nothing this film does surpasses the original in any way, and you just end up scratching your head. Well, why did we make it in the first place? Just looking at my notes, it tries to be a direct carbon copy of the original film, and it truly feels soulless. I've seen certain live-action remakes that tries to take some differences, even though I didn't like it. Lilo and Stitch, that I believe came out last year, takes some big differences. I didn't like that, but I will give it credit that it did try to do something different. This one is basically, with the exception of just taking certain things and like changing the order of like certain songs, everything that is in this movie was from the original Moana film, and it just genuinely leaves you puzzled of, okay, if you're not going to change anything from the original, if you're going to keep the same designs, keep the same like character motivations, the exact same plot from narrative point to narrative point, what was the like it leaves you with no purpose of, okay, well, why years from now would we ever return to this film, and what was the creative like juice to make this film? And the answer is there really wasn't any, because if you're just going to make a remake that just looks like the animated film but in live action, it ends up not only feeling unnecessary, but certain things look really, really silly. If you've seen the trailers, you've probably seen what Dwayne Johnson looks like in live action. Dwayne Johnson reprises his role of Maui because he voiced Maui in the original film. And the design of the character is exactly how he looks as a cartoon. And as a cartoon, you can do a lot of creative, really funny, like cool looking things. And it can look and it can look unique. It can look fun. When you put that in live action, it immediately takes you up because it looks like you are looking at a cartoon version of a real person. And the second Maui shows up in that wig, you can't help but just roll your eyes and just laugh to yourself by how stupid this movie truly does look. Dwayne Johnson feels like he definitely feels like he is like phoning it in a bit. I'd say ever since Black Adam, he's been on a little bit of like a downward spiral as an actor, trying to find his footing again. I like The Smashing Machine personally. I think it was a really nice dramatic role from him. But in terms of like these big blockbuster roles, we know how charismatic The Rock can be. We know how fun of a performer he can be. He doesn't really bring that to this role. Once again, he does sing his famous song "You're Welcome," and it doesn't have that same energy from the animated film. If I were to say this movie had one redeeming factor, it is Catherine Legea, the girl who does play Moana. I believe this is, if not her first role, one of her first roles. I can look that up real fast. But I think she captured the character of Moana really, really well. She has a beautiful singing voice. In her moments where she's not just singing, where she is just talking, maybe doesn't have like the most to do, but I think that's really just like a fault of the script. She is really, really great. She's like the one redeeming factor of this film. I will actually give the live action remake some credit there, where while I haven't liked most of them, they almost always seem to cast the main role really, really well. I hated Snow White. I thought Rachel Zegler was very good as Snow White. I didn't like the live action Little Mermaid. I thought Halle Bailey was really good as Ariel. I think the two actresses who played Lilo and Lilo's sister, I'm just completely blanking on her sister. I feel like such a dumbass right now. I think they were very good. I think all the things around it feel really, really just like half baked, and that is for me the like tagline of this film, where Catherine Legea is really great. Everything around her needs a lot of improvement. The movie changes a lot of the order of the songs, and I think it just doesn't add like the weight to those songs. Like How Far I'll Go is probably the standout from the original Moana film. That song happens like a little earlier in this film, and it doesn't carry any of the emotional weight. Like I remember from the original film, when Moana sings that song, it really does feel like you are watching this character who has been like in this sort of like rut in her life of like, what's my purpose, finally getting that purpose of adventure and wanting to go off to save her island. And this one, it just feels like, okay, she's singing. We don't really know that the island is in peril, and the character doesn't really seem to have found his purpose. So we're just sort of perplexed, like, okay, why should we really care? The CGI in this film, it ranges from uninspired to truly awful. I don't think the backdrops and the environments are quite as bad as I'm seeing some people say. It genuinely does look like a cartoon, and when you see how just like non-detailed everything is, it really makes you wonder why we decided to make this in live action. But there is some really awful CGI stuff, specifically Pua and Hey, Moana's animal sidekicks. Every time these characters showed up, you're immediately taken out, and you're just like, why do they look so fake? Why wasn't like some of the effort like put into rendering these guys a little bit more? I get that they're supposed to be like comedic reliefs, like fun animal sidekick comedic reliefs, but they just really, really just took me out, and they were easily the worst effect of this film. Also, if you see Moana, you know there's a scene where a giant hermit crab sort of like acts as an obstacle to Moana Maui. That scene is even worse in this film, and the design for that hermit crab is genuinely awful. Movie's only around like 10 minutes longer than the 2016 film, but it feels like a half hour to 45 minutes longer, mainly because like really the only thing they add are just like some like really bad like comedic scenes, which I just didn't think were necessary at all. Yeah, unfortunately, my main takeaway from this film is it genuinely doesn't seem like it has any purpose to exist. I think that's maybe the biggest insult I can really give any film. Like, there are far worse movies than this, but when I see those, I'm like, okay, at least they're sort of like bad in like an interesting way. This is bad in the most like milquetoast vanilla way that I'm just shaking my head like you Thomas Kail and the filmmakers didn't do anything with this film. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, 0 being absolutely terrible, 10 being absolutely incredible, I'm going to give it a flat 4 out of 10. I think this was a pretty bad and unnecessary film that doesn't do anything unique or inspired compared to that really, really great original animated film. If you are looking for a movie to take your family to, Toy Story 5 is still in theaters. I didn't review Minions and Monsters. I think that is even like, it might be like brainless humor, but like it's more fun than this and feels more inspired by this. This just feels like this genuinely feels like it was just created in a lab just to see like how can we make money, which is unfortunately how most of these Disney live action remakes feel. But I say we move on from Moana to talk about a movie I liked much more. The Invite. This is directed by Olivia Wilde. This is her third film. Olivia Wilde directed 2019's excellent coming-of-age comedy Booksmart, and the not-so-excellent drama Don't Worry, Darling that came out back in 2022. That movie was riddled with behind-the-scenes drama of Olivia Wilde dating Harry Styles, her breaking up with her then boyfriend Jason Sudeikis. I don't want to get into it. I want to talk about this movie, The Invite. In this movie, Olivia Wilde plays a wife by the name of Angela. She is married to a music teacher named Joe, played by Seth Rogen. One day, Joe comes home from a pretty bad day at work. You get the vibe that he seems to be a pretty stressed out guy that seems fairly miserable with his current life. They have a kid that we never really see. And one day when he comes home, his wife just says, "Get ready, honey. We are having guests over." And wouldn't you know it, it is two guests that they have heard many times throughout many nights having sex. Pina and Hawk, played by Penelope Cruz and Edward Norton. Angela just wants them over in order to make friends. And Joe wants them over to hopefully give them peace in their mind to say, hey, you're being annoying at night. During this dinner, hijinks kind of start to ensue, some awkward, some very, very funny. And to get into any more exact specifics might be a spoiler, but I just want to get out of the way and just say I really, really loved The Invite. This is a film, I am usually a fan of a movie that takes a cramped setting, puts a bunch of talented actors in there, and just gives them different situations to find the comedy, find the drama, find the different like nervousness, find the different awkwardness in there. And that is exactly what Olivia Wilde and the writers, I believe Will McCormick and Rashida Jones do. And it ends up creating some very, very fun scenes. It uses the cramped nature of the setting beautifully. The movie really only takes place in maybe like, it takes place in the apartment of Joe and Angela, but you really only are in the kitchen, the living room, and at certain points, Joe's office. It really shows just like how just like uncomfortable all these characters are. Even though Pina and Hawk, I think the fun part about those characters are they genuinely are coming over because it seems like they just want to have a nice dinner and a nice time with these characters, even though you learn they do eventually have some ulterior motives. Joe is the only guy that is genuine, like from the start, get out of my apartment, get out. I don't want to have dinner with you guys, and I just want to sit and mope all night. And I think being in such a cramped and small setting really gives weight to how just like uncomfortable all the characters start to become in this film. All four of the actors are terrific and are bringing different elements to the film. I think if you force me to pick my favorite one, I do think it probably is Seth Rogen. I think it is probably the best I've ever seen Seth Rogen be. I think the best part about this character is I think Olivia Wilde tapped into what makes Seth Rogen a great actor, where he's a guy that like in all of his comedies, he's always like giving off like little wise quips, always trying to be like the funniest guy in the room. And this movie sort of turns that like persona on its head of what if that character was still giving the quips, was still giving the side conversations he always does, but is just a little bit more miserable and not nearly as funny. And it truly just shows how grating of a character that would be. Like there's this scene where Angela and Pina are talking, and Pina says like, yeah, you know, me and Hawk are thinking about having kids soon. And Joe just immediately says, well, you better go sooner rather than later. And just everyone just sort of stops and really just sinks into how just like terrible of a comment that was. And he just sort of has that moment of like, well, that was a really stupid thing to say. He has so many moments like that, and as the movie goes on, he starts to become even more tired, and he starts to have more moments of just exploding and just truly like showing his displeasure. And I think it really shows just like the like common male persona now of being in a long-standing relationship or marriage and just being sort of like sad in your place but not really wanting to do anything about it. I think Joe really captures that really well, and Seth Rogen is a great actor for that. The other actor I really want to spotlight is Edward Norton, who is so funny as Hawk. I think every actor has a moment where they sort of like blow up and just have like this big emotional cathartic moment. Norton is the only one that sort of has like this zen, calm nature throughout the film. We learn early on that Hawk is a retired firefighter, that he has had a previous marriage, and he is just sort of like very at peace with his current lifestyle. And every time someone blows up at him and wants to get mad at him, he just reacts in the most like just smiling and calm way that you can't help that just find it funny. Edward Norton is a guy I've always liked him as an actor, but it seems like for the past like maybe 15 years, he's really just been doing like Wes Anderson movies. This is like the first time in a while where I've seen him take a really, really fun, dramatic role and really knock it out of the park. But Olivia Wilde and Penelope Cruz are excellent. Olivia Wilde has some of the best monologues in the movie. You see why, as the movie progresses, why she is so unhappy with her marriage, why she just in what seemed to be the spur of the moment decided to invite these friends over to hopefully just form another cool relationship. As the movie starts going on, you start to see as Joe and Angela start arguing, Pina and Hawk being this new relationship slowly start to see like, hey, are we going to snowball into the same elements that has sort of made this marriage seem like, hey, should you two really still be together? And they start to argue a little bit more. It's really, really well done from a script point of view. The editing is very, very frenetic at points. I think Olivia Wilde, even though I didn't really love Don't Worry, Darling, didn't really like it, honestly. I can't deny that it's a very technically well-made movie, and this movie takes all those technical aspects and gives it a much better script. As Joe and Angela are setting up for the party, it's edited at such a quick pace. Characters can barely like get their dialogue out fast enough. And then as the party starts to die down, as you start to realize why Pina and Hawk are really over there, it really makes you sit in like all these like really like deep dramatic moments. And yeah, Olivia Wilde is able to handle the camera in a really, really fun way. If I were to say like there's one aspect of this film I wasn't the biggest fan of, I think the score by Devonte Hines, while I can see why some people are going to like the score, I think there are certain points where it honestly feels a little too distracting because of how loud and just like over sensory like overloaded at points. Usually I can be a fan of that. Like I'm a big fan of the Challenger score. I'm a big fan of like scores for like Gaspar Noé films. This one, it just feels like the score just got a little bit in the way of the script and the characters' motivations at certain points. But that's really the only technical aspect of the film I wasn't the biggest fan of. Everything else I think is really well done. I think the way how Olivia Wilde shoots certain scenes through like windows, without spoiling, how like windows play into this movie really well done, and really like seals the themes of the films really greatly. Yeah, as I've tackled, the movie can be very awkward at points, but it also has some truly laugh out loud moments. I saw this movie in a pretty packed theater. We were like laughing like through all the moments that it feels like the movie was intending for you to laugh, just based on how just done with it Joe really is as a character, just with how like Pina, played by Penelope Cruz, really just wants to get along with everyone. This might be the best like English language performance I've seen from Penelope Cruz. So yeah, really well done there. And then yeah, I think this movie has some very honest and hard-hitting things to say about growing old with someone. As the movie goes on, we learn that hey, when Angela and Joe first met, they were like Pina and Hawk. They were super attracted to each other. They were really physical with each other. They couldn't get enough of each other. And just as their lives sort of went on, Angela stopped painting as much as she did. Joe's music career didn't go the way he thought it would. They were living in a very nice apartment that was gifted to them by Joe's parents. And you just see like the disappointment in these characters' lives, and they just sort of have like this like puzzling moment of like, if it wasn't for our kid, would we still truly be together? And I think the questions this movie asks are really well done. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, I'm going to go high. I'm going a 9.5 out of 10. This is one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. This is definitely going to make my top 10 at the end of the year, hopefully, unless this is like a really great movie year, which it honestly is shaping up to be. It's really funny. It's has some really great dramatic moments, and four absolutely incredible performances. See this in theaters. It's really great to see that it seems like Don't Worry, Darling was a fluke, and Olivia Wilde is back from that promise we saw from Booksmart. But I think that just about does it for our show this week. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to the video so it helps grow our channel a lot. Next week, it's going to be a big one. I'm going to be reviewing The Odyssey, probably my most anticipated movie of the summer, probably the most anticipated film for many of you, as well as hopefully one other movie. If I'm not able to see another movie, I'll look at the other wide releases. But if I'm not able to see another one, I'm definitely still going to be here because I really do want to talk about The Odyssey with you guys. Thank you all for watching. And as always, watch more movies.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.